If you're struggling with anything from section 9.3, that was learning how to simplify radicals, so we actually took a step back from solving quadratics, and we were simplifying here. I actually think problem 8 is the easiest. So for problem 8, it's asking you what is the square root of 16. So what number multiplies by itself to get you 16? 4. So that's why I think 8 is probably the easiest. If you're struggling with 7 though, it's not too much more complicated. For 7, 12 is not a perfect square, so the square root of 12, we can't simplify as easy as 16. So we want to think of numbers inside of 12 that are perfect squares. So 12 is 4 times 3. And 4 is a perfect square. What is the square root of 4? It's 2, right? So the square root of 12 can be rewritten as 2 times the square root of 3. Okay, if you're struggling with problem 9, this is where variables are brought in. So remember, square root means it needs to be a perfect square. It needs to be able to be multiplied by itself in order for it to get outside of the radical sign. So for number 8, think of a perfect square inside the number 8. I'm thinking 4 times 2, right? So we have rewritten this as the square root of 4 times the square root of 2 times the square root of x. What is the square root of 4? It's 2. Can we simplify at all the square root of 2 and the square root of x? No, we cannot. So we just leave them inside the square root. And finally, number 10, we have 48x squared. So for this problem, we want to think of any number inside, or perfect squares inside of 48. So I think 48 can be broken into 16 times 3. And 16 is the biggest perfect square inside of 48. So I'm going to rewrite this as the square root of 16 times the square root of 3 times the square root of x squared. What is the square root of 16? It's 4, right? We already did that in problem number 8. So that we have 4, and we have the square root of 3. Now, what is the square root of x squared? What happens to the square root and the squared part? They cancel out, right? So we have 4 square root of 3 x. So a lot of times you'll see this stuff that is not underneath this radical written out front. So 4x square root of 3 is our answer for number 10. And that is very quickly how you solve all of the 9.3 problems simplifying radicals.